They trade Marina Mabrey, then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically two of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in the position Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas. Those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
It's time to rise and grind right here on the early line on the SportsGrid Network. New week, new money, as we like to say, and what an exciting weekend it was. My goodness, college football upsets across the horizon, big-time victories by those Miami Hurricanes. Sunday NFL football, if you blinked and didn't pay attention, you missed a lot. Our job today is to get you ready for a Monday night doubleheader, recap Major League Baseball, recap the college football scene, set the scene for what happened on Sunday and what it means for Monday and moving forward in the NFL. Sometimes, Joe Ranieri, they say 2 hours just isn't enough. Stoney writes out, it's Joe Ranieri, and we are ready to roll.
We are a Monday fun day, Donnie. A lot to go over and a lot to look forward to, given not one but two Monday night games. And the final stretch here of the regular season in Major League Baseball, with still a whole lot to learn with some teams.
Fantastic. NBA style tonight in the NFL. I don't know who's going to stay up and watch that late night. Good luck to them. I won't be watching, but I certainly will be catching up in the morning tomorrow on that one. But neither here nor there, Joe. The 7 and 7, the hottest topics across the sports landscape, which included last night's Sunday night football game. And I don't know what to believe now. We have 8 total quarters of action from J.J. McCarthy. For 7 of them, he has been brutal. One of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. But did have a comeback victory last week against the Chicago Bears. The Falcons on the road easily dispatched of the Vikings 22-6 in what we like to call Field Goal Fest 2025.
Yeah, and Falcons, one of the few underdog outright winners yesterday. Yeah. We had a couple of them. They were one of them there, but I'm kind of with you here. He was under duress a lot by this Falcons defense, and that's the question I have. Which Falcons defense is real? The one that showed up last night or the one Baker Mayfield torched? That has to be seen, too, as well.
I got to tell you, watching yesterday, if you're betting football teams and games, hey, man, I like the Bengals. They're going to be at home, taking on Jacksonville. We should get some points in this game. Joe Burrow goes down early in that football game. He was 7 of 13 for 76 yards and a touchdown. It's a wrap. There's no way the Bengals can win that game. Jake Browning comes in, 21 of 32, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw 3 interceptions, and they still won the football game on a quarterback sneak. But the big news is not the Cincinnati Bengals being 2-0. The big news could be Joe Burrow down for as much as 3 months if this toe injury turns out to what we think it's going to be here. Devastating news for the Cincinnati Bengals to start their season, Joe.
Well, I mean, they're going to have to wait to see. So, if surgery is required here on this toe, bye-bye season and Joe Burrow. But at least they have an experienced backup here, who I believe has gone 4-3 in his replace back in 2023. So that's the reason you have a backup here. Hopefully, though, the news is better that he's not gone for the whole season, that he might be able to come back at some particular point for them.
Trevor Lawrence, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You can't have those. They ran the ball for 139 yards, good for 5.1 yards per carry. And sometimes I don't understand coaches. We'll get to this game a little bit later, Joe, but just quickly answer for me this. I know Cincinnati did end up scoring a touchdown. 4th and 5 to go up 6 instead of 3, and you go for it. Like, I don't understand football sometimes. I really don't.
I don't understand how you can hit a guy wide open in the hands and he drops it also at the same time. But keep this in mind. Cincinnati won that game despite not leading until there were 18 seconds left in the game, and that is how they won. That's a brutal loss for the Jags.
Certainly is. How about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs? A rematch of Super Bowl 59. The Philadelphia Eagles get that rematch once again in their favor in Kansas City, 20-17. Jalen Hurts only 15 of 22 for 101 yards passing. Patrick Mahomes at 187 yards passing. A lot of that late in the game on a deep pass touchdown, which drew them to 20-17. The Eagles were the better team yesterday, but it's apparent you just don't have a lot of weapons for Kansas City right now, and it showed yesterday, Joe.
Oh, they can't run the ball either. Patrick Mahomes is going to keep eating your leading rusher. Then you've got an issue, Kansas City. But it ain't all roses with the Eagles either, because yikes, that team, that offense does not look good, and certainly doesn't look in midseason form there. So that's kind of a work in progress as well.
Yeah, exactly. When you imagine not playing your starters in the preseason and getting off to a slow start. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles are still 2-0 here, and a lot to be desired. The defense really played well, but also, we talked about it all week. Kansas City wasn't going to have wide receivers. They're not that explosive as they were, and you're right about it. Like, when Patrick Mahomes is your elite player, like, yeah, it's great. No, not on the ground. Supposed to be in the air. We'll see how that turns, but an 0-2 Kansas City Chiefs is really interesting here. How about the Boston Red Sox last night, Joe? 6 runs in the first inning. That's all they needed to beat the New York Yankees 6-4, but it looks like Toronto starting to drive the nail in the AL East.
Yeah, it looks like that. It looks like Toronto, looks like the maybe even the Yankees have solidified how they are going to end up, but there are still some questions there with everyone else. Who gets those other 2 wild card spots in the American League is going to be interesting.
Yeah, right down the stretch we go, and I know we love our football. 9:15 today. That's September 15th. We have roughly 2 weeks left in the Major League Baseball season. Winners and losers will be decided here, and it certainly is a lot of fun to watch. So don't turn your back on Major League Baseball here. Now, as we talk about the NFL, Shedeur Sanders, why is he coming up? They got crushed yesterday talking about the Cleveland Browns. Well, the Ravens picked up the phone and go, hey, Shedeur, how about you be a Baltimore Raven? He goes, you got Lamar Jackson. I'd like to go somewhere else. He's always keeping his name in the news. But then again, the Browns were terrible. They played the Ravens yesterday. Lamar Jackson was fantastic. Sometimes learning under a really good quarterback to start your NFL career is not a bad idea. Hint Aaron Rodgers. But Shedeur Sanders says, hey, happy where I am right now.
Yeah, as a emergency quarterback. Yes, backup. I don't know. Do you even dress as a third stringer? I'm not even sure there. But yeah, listen, why not back up Joe Flacco, I guess. Congrats. We'll see you hopefully sometime over the next couple of years.
How about this, Joe? Sometimes it's bittersweet at times, right? I know you came up with a play on UCLA on Friday night at minus 15.5, and certainly didn't work out in your favor. And sometimes you root on those games. Well, if I can't cover the spread, you might as well lose the game. But even worse is, if you embarrass me, I hope you get embarrassed. Well, how about that? UCLA fired Deshaun Foster on Sunday after a winless start to the season. The pictures told it, like, you're losing to bad football teams, and the pictures of nobody going to the Rose Bowl, that's the death knell. 43-10 loss, followed by back-to-back losses to the Mountain West teams here. That 43-10 loss was to Utah, who isn't all that great of a team. UCLA, one of the Big Tens, like, you can have them back, Pac-12, if you're still alive.
Yeah, that was part of the reasoning, Donnie, was that, how this team cannot be this bad. You cannot spend that kind of money on a quarterback in an NIL deal and be this terrible. Because if you are, you ain't gonna have a job very long. And voila, he no longer has a job. And this UCLA program is going to have to start from scratch here at some point.
My goodness, man, just brutalness there. And by the way, you know what else isn't brutal? 54 home runs for Cal Raleigh. The big dumper sets another record for the Mariners. And by the way, hitting a lot of home runs is fun. You know, it's even more fun hitting a lot of home runs and being in first place, which is exactly what the Mariners are today.
Yep. Yeah, and good for him, man. I mean, that's a pretty elite company to be in with the Mick there for a switch hitter. 54 jacks on the year is very, very impressive. But you know, can you get to the postseason and actually do some damage? That's what we're waiting to see with the Seattle team.
How about some damage quickly yesterday in the NFL? The Cowboys 40-37 over the Giants. I have no idea how the Giants lost. If you would tell me before the game Russell Wilson threw for 450 and 3 touchdowns, that's a 3-touchdown win here. Malik Neighbors was sensational. But how about in the NFL, Joe, where you have a kicker that's so good that you play for a 60-plus yard field goal to try to tie it up at the end of the game? That is incredible. Forget about getting close. Hey, he's got to get inside the 30-yard line. Just cross midfield, and we're okay. Aubrey, what a weapon in the NFL.
Wow. I mean, he's that. And by the way, that 64-yarder to tie it would have been good from about 72.
Yes.
So he had a little meat left on that bone, Donnie, that he still could have punched it through. So you got to love being automatic. The problem is, can they stay in games long enough where he actually can make a difference for him?
Offense was popping in that game nonetheless. But also, we talk about a great offensive performance by the Giants and the Cowboys. How about a brutal offensive performance by the Vikings at home? All those expectations after beating the Bears out the window. Let's talk about this game and J.J. McCarthy and what it means for the future of the NFC North.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Johnny, then you don't believe in face recognition, do you? Because I can assure you. Oh, yes, they do. They absolutely do. They will find that guy in a heartbeat. And by the way, why would you want to go to Vegas? You want to talk about facial red? They won't let you step in a casino. They won't let you step anywhere in
The
there.
Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There's a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a punt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of like, hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Armchair quarterback. It's what we love to do on a Monday edition of the Early Line right here on the SportsGrid Network. And we're going to do it right now because I always like to say, Joe, in the NFL, college football, and high school, you improve more between weeks 1 and weeks 2 than any other point in the season. Dress rehearsal out of the way, go over your P's and Q's. Okay, those mistakes, we're going to improve on them in week 2. But also understand this. You get a false sense of security with what you saw in week number 1 and how it might translate into week number 2. Case in point last night, the Atlanta Falcons, who were 0-1 on the season after losing to Tampa Bay on opening day in their own building. The Minnesota Vikings were absolutely horrendous against the Chicago Bears through 3 quarters, but pulled out a miracle in the 4th quarter because J.J. McCarthy had 2 touchdown passes and 1 on the ground. Hey, things are looking up. It's a homecoming for the Vikings here. Enter week number 2. J.J. McCarthy, 11 of 21 for 158 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, sacked 6 times in that football game. They looked horrendous. The Atlanta Falcons knew the assignment here. Let's just play. Don't turn the football over. They'll hand us this football game, and they did. 22-6 final, which means a total of 28 points in this game. 2 young quarterbacks dueling, and that wasn't much of a duel, and particularly because of J.J. McCarthy, Joe.
Well, unfortunately for Viking fans, you usually just remember the last thing you saw. And the last thing they saw was this kid going into the 4th quarter against the Bears and looking like the greatest quarterback in the history of the organization. Well, that didn't last very long because at home, fans were expecting, a continuation of that. The problem is, listen, this is the kid's rookie season. So the idea that there won't be bumps along the way here is just not the case, especially with a couple of banged up starting offensive linemen weren't in that game. The kid was under duress the entire night. But to go along with those 2 interceptions, he fumbled the ball 3 times and lost 1. So you're not going to be competitive, or you're not going to be a starting quarterback no matter where they drafted you for very long if you can't hold on to the ball. And that may have to be the biggest lesson he's got to learn first and foremost with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, it was a bad performance all the way around, and those expectations of 1-0, and you saw the highlights from the locker room. We found our dog. This guy knows how to win, and he's going to go through learning curves. You don't make a lot of money betting rookie quarterbacks in the NFL, and you saw that. Great comeback in week number 1, bad performance in week number 2, but also credit that Atlanta defense here. What was the issue with the Atlanta defense last year? They could not get to the quarterback, Joe. How about on Sunday Night Football? 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, a 37.5 passer rating, and only 198 total yards of offense. This is the Atlanta defense that we wanted to see last year and didn't get it. And could this be moving forward a chance for them to get right? But if we do focus on the Atlanta Falcons, the one thing we do know is Bijan Robinson is a really good football player. 22 carries, 143 yards on a day where the Atlanta Falcons had 39 carries as a team and 218 yards on the ground. That's a good Minnesota defense. Going on the road 0-1, Joe, you can't afford to go to 0-2. That's a good performance by the Falcons to even up their record now in the season.
Yeah, very good. And again, I think the defense was the big question, right? They spent a lot of money putting that defense together here in the offseason, a lot of draft capital, a lot of free agents. And you weren't sure what to make of it after last week because Baker Mayfield was throwing the ball all over the place. And they weren't able to get a stop when it mattered most. But it didn't matter on the road in this game here because that defense of Atlanta was all over the field. So which version is the real version, Donnie? We're going to have to, I think the jury's still out here on this Atlanta defense, but Michael Penix Jr. really starting to come into his own here.
No, he certainly is. And how about this? Younghoe Koo missed a big field goal last week that would have helped the Atlanta Falcons at least try to tie and or win that football game. Wasn't able to get it done. They put him on the bench for Parker Romo, who went out last night in a hostile environment, 5 for 5 for his field goals, Joe. I don't know if Younghoe Koo gets back into the lineup at this point, does he?
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, that's one game, but let's see what you do here in the next spot here. But so far, so good. With kickers, Donnie, you're only as good as your last kick. So True. Let's see exactly what you got going on here over the next couple of weeks. But there's no doubt. You need to have somebody like the Cowboys showed us that they can count on when the game matters the most, that can put it in uprights no matter how far it is.
There you go, 5 of 5. We'll see if that continues there in the next couple of weeks, but the Atlanta Falcons get the win. If we start to take a look at some of those standings here, they're not going to change all that much. Weeks 1, weeks 2, weeks 3. But if we do take a look at the Chicago Bears, after losing opening night and then getting hammered, which we'll talk about later, a plus 2,200 price to win the NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings, they dropped back to 5-1. The Detroit Lions with an impressive victory yesterday, plus 370, and the Green Bay Packers at a minus 185 price. Just talk to me about the Minnesota Vikings, Joe, because there is going to be growing pains. They probably should have lost to what looks like a really bad Bears team. They get hammered at home by Atlanta. The Vikings, a lot of people say, hey, if Sam Darnold could be a good quarterback, why can't J.J. McCarthy? This might be a roller coaster this year.
Yeah, it's going to be, but it didn't help also that they had a whole lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball that were banged up and didn't play in that game. And the fact that it was still just, a 12-6 game, felt like a baseball game, quite honestly, in that third quarter. It wasn't like the Falcons were running away with this game here. The defense did an admirable job, and that's what Minnesota's going to be. Until they can get J.J. McCarthy comfortable, it's the defense is going to have to step up. It's going to have to get healthier, but it's going to have to keep them engaged to give them an opportunity to win them late. I don't see them blowing anybody out. It's going to be about the defense, but right now they're not healthy, and we're only 2 weeks into the season.
NFC South here, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at a minus 175 price. They'll play tonight on Monday Night Football. The Falcons evened up their record at a plus 240, or 1-1 to a plus 240 in the division. They just got to also having Carolina and New Orleans in the division. Those two teams, the Falcons and the Buccaneers, should just be racking wins up against those bums.
Yeah, they should. I think we all thought this was eventually going to come down to Atlanta and Tampa won round one. So we'll see what happens here. But those two are clearly the class of that division, which isn't saying a whole heck of a lot.
No, it's not. We're going to get to some other NFL news and notes here in just a few moments, which we are going to hit that Dallas Cowboys and New York Giants game. I thought we were supposed to lean on the defense for the New York Giants this year, and that incredible front four that should sack the other quarterbacks multiple times per game. Well, yesterday it was the offense that did not disappoint across many games in the NFL landscape, and we're going to hit that next. Starting down in Dallas, 60-plus yard field goals, no problem. Let's get to the NFL next right here on the early line.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Oh, Johnny, then you don't believe in face recognition, do you? Because I can assure you. Oh, yes, they do. They absolutely do. They will find that guy in a heartbeat. And by the way, why would you want to go to Vegas? You want to talk about facial red? They won't let you step in a casino. They won't let you step anywhere in
The
there.
Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
There was a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a punt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of like, hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. Russell Wilson is a really good quarterback. Maybe I'm just going a little bit over my skis right now. But yesterday, Joe, we rolled back the clock. The MVP style Russell Wilson, the guy we thought might be able to get to the Hall of Fame, the Super Bowl champion quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. 31 of 40 for 450 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but still a passer rating of a 123. They lost that football game, the Giants. This score, 40-37. We'll go over this in just a few moments here, but my goodness, you threw an unbelievable dime, Russell Wilson to Malik Neighbors, and it looked like that was going to clinch that game. But for some reason, there was no offense played in the fourth quarter whatsoever. 41 total points in one quarter, Joe, and the Giants couldn't get any stops to win that football game.
It was hilarious watching this thing
41.
unfold, Donnie. It really was, because there was a point where we all knew, watching Russell Wilson with the Giants down, there was literally only one guy that could absolutely stretch the field, and you'd have to throw it as far as you can and hope that he could beat the guys and actually get in the end zone. And that was Malik Neighbors. And he tried it a play prior to that and overthrew him. It was open. And then they went right back to it. And the Cowboys defense was standing there like, I don't know what happened. Like, there was one guy that could beat you in that spot. And I would have put everybody on Malik Neighbors and said, good luck trying to get to the end zone any other way. And voila, now we've got a situation where the Giants defense just has to step up. In that final minute, Donnie, they make a play, game is over, and it's a huge comeback for the Giants of Russell Wilson. But instead, 64-yard field goal, and we go to overtime.
Damn, I would have loved to have seen it yesterday with another Jerry Jones press conference, losing to the Giants in his own building, talking about how much better of a football team they are at this point. You know what they could have used also, Dallas, yesterday? How about a really good pass rush? Weren't able to get that. Oh, well, it is. Dallas Cowboys wins. The Giants go to 0-2. Nobody is surprised by that. We'll keep it moving down the list. The Seahawks come into town with Sam Darnold. Lost a game last week against the 49ers. How's Darnold going to improve? 295 yards. He did throw 2 touchdowns, but they won the game going away. 14-7 lead for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the break. Turned into a 14-14 tie entering into the fourth quarter. That's where you're supposed to hear renegade and have a home field advantage for the Steelers. And they lost the fourth quarter 17-3 on one of the more boneheaded special teams plays you are ever going to see. In what world does a kickoff happen where you touch the football, it rolls into the end zone, and you trot off the field as if it was a touchback? My goodness, what a terrible, terrible play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and wound up costing them the football game 31-17.
Yeah, well, it wasn't also a great day for Aaron Rodgers either.
No.
So while that kid's gaffed there, he's a rookie. And I think Tomlin put it where poor judgment by a young player. That's great. But the reality is Aaron Rodgers, 18-33, 203, a touchdown, and not one, but 2 picks. Wasn't exactly a great showing at all. And DJ Metcalf, congratulations on your 3-yard touchdown. But where else was he in that game? Because after that, I never saw him on the field.
No, and that's a bad loss for the Steelers, as you saw Aaron Rodgers in the post-game press conference. Not all the excitement for him. Hey, calm down. It's week number 2. No, you're supposed to win that football game, not get beat by 2 touchdowns on your home field after having a victory. And again, hey, we beat the Jets. Okay, how good are the Jets actually at this point? We'll get to them in just a little bit, but the Rams went on the road. 33 points for Matthew Stafford on that offense. You love to see it. 33-19 victory over the Tennessee Titans, which saw Stafford 298 yards on 33 passing attempts, 2 touchdowns, getting the victory there. This was a lead by the Tennessee Titans at the break, but the better football team in the second half, 23-6. That was the Rams. They run away with a win and a cover.
Well, and they turned back the clock for one Devontae Adams, too. 6 catches, $106 there, and a touchdown. So he looked good. But if I'm a Tennessee fan, Cam Ward had his moments in this game as well. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of weapons, but you know what he doesn't do an awful lot? He doesn't turn the ball over. And at moments, if you actually put a team around him, Donnie, he might not be all that bad.
As our friend Dave Sharapan says a lot here, nobody knows nothing here. Remember last week? Like, oh, man, Fields, they found their franchise quarterback. The Jets look great. Justin Fields, 3 of 11 for 27 yards as they got pounded by the Buffalo Bills 30-10. Shout out James Cook in that game, too. 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Again, let's just go over those numbers. 3 for 11 for 27 yards before he left in the fourth quarter for a concussion. Just going to leave it at
My guy is just not an NFL throwing quarterback. It's okay. Understand your limitations at this point. And we'll talk more NFL next right here on the early line.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
There's a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a punt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of like, hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Doesn't look like the Meadowlands going to be any good football this year for either the New York Jets or the New York Giants. But yesterday, you took a look at the Jets with 154 yards of offense. They gave up 403 yards of offense, and it probably could have been worse if the Buffalo Bills felt they even had to score any more points in this game. Let's take a look at Aaron Glenn's post-game press conference. Hey, man, blame me.
I think I said that earlier, but I've been here before as a coach, and I have to look at myself. All the players have to look at themselves, and the coaches have to look at themselves also. Apparently, I didn't get to have the guys ready to play, so.
Gotta get him ready to play here at this point, Joe Ranieri. You take a look at Justin Fields. He exit with a concussion. It was bad all the way around. As a Jets fan, I feel bad. Like, do you ever get any glimmers of hope being a Jets fan? Does it ever happen where you get excited?
Yeah, we did. We got the optimism last week, Donnie, and that lasted until about 6 minutes into the first quarter yesterday. And then I found myself scratching my head going, is that Adam Gase on the sidelines coaching this team? Like, what in the world are we doing here? Undisciplined. They looked overmatched across the board, holding penalties everywhere. And again, some of the decision-making from an offensive standpoint on the plays they were calling, I just head-scratching across the board yesterday with that performance.
It certainly was. Other head-scratching performances, maybe not necessarily, but the San Francisco 49ers 26-21 over the New Orleans Saints. And we always like to bring it back into the betting landscape. Congratulations early in the week if you took the Saints getting over a touchdown here. Shame on you for thinking the Saints could win this game on Sunday and taking the +3 because you would have lost. Mac Jones steps in through 39 times for 279 yards, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. How about this football game, Joe? Mac Jones, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Rattler, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's 6 touchdowns and no picks for 2 quarterbacks that we don't expect to excel in the NFL. But the 49ers get the victory here. They came in as a mash unit, but still got the victory.
Yeah, and basically the 49ers led from start to finish in that game there, Donnie. It was, they were clearly the better team. Christian McCaffrey running like there are no issues there. And Mac Jones, again, stepping in, 3 touchdowns. Systems and coaching matter in the NFL, and San Francisco's got a pretty good system and a pretty good head coach there. Even Mac Jones can step in and fill the role.
You sort of felt what was going to happen in Baltimore, because you always take a look at those lines, 11.5, 12.5, 13.5, and say, hey, Cleveland should have beat Cincinnati week number 1. The Ravens let one go. I think the Browns in a divisional game can stay close. They got hammered yesterday, 41-17, as the Ravens easily win. You know what I was upset about this game, Joe? I had 2 parlays tied to a Derrick Henry touchdown yesterday, which I thought was maybe the easier leg that I was going to get. Multiple times inside the 1-yard line, he doesn't get the football, but it doesn't matter when you have Lamar Jackson's 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. This is more like the Baltimore Ravens that we expected, not in the game number 1 where they blew that monster lead. They weren't blowing any lead. Matter of fact, Joe, they scored 31 points in the second half of this football game.
Yeah, it was actually close in the first half. It was the defense of the Browns, which is very good. The problem is they were on the field the entire game. And then in the second half, with Flacco going 25 or 45 and a couple of turnovers. Yeah. And then the good news is we got to see Dylan Gabriel get his first NFL snaps in the fourth quarter. So that's how bad things were going for the Browns. But it was good to get the rookie in there. And there's another rookie on that. Oh, that's right. I don't think he was dressed.
Look at that. Maybe he should have played for the other side. He might have got it in a bonus time late in that game if he was with the Ravens with that for yesterday. How about the meetup yesterday? Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson, really good friends out here. Look at that. Does that photo bring a tear to your eye, Joe? I mean, when you look at that, the emotion in there, like, big brother, how you doing? Come on.
Yeah, no, that's great, especially since Lamar was the guy that ended Flacco's career in Baltimore. I think that's priceless. Yeah, bye-bye now, Joe. Bye-bye. But, hey, listen, he's still going at 40-some-odd years old. Unfortunately, he's with the Browns, and, well, that defense is going to have to win some games for him this year if they're going to win it all.
I'll tell you, defense needs a little bit of help at this point. It's the Chicago Bears. You saw this coming from a mile away. Like, Detroit was embarrassed in week number 1 against a very good Packers team. Coming home against the Bears in a must-win situation. Did we know it would be must-win where they would put up 52 points, 14 in the first, 14 in the second, 10 in the third, and 14th in the fourth? Jared Goff, 334 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. Jahmyr Gibbs, 12 carries, 94 yards, and a touchdown. David Montgomery, 11 carries for 57 yards and a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 9 catches, 115 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They eviscerated the Bears, and I guess the Bears, who are we who we thought they are, to say the least? Goodness, man. Come on, Chicago.
I mean, it was a absolute... They looked as pathetic as a Bears defense has ever looked in the history of this organization. And by the way, it wasn't like they were dropping, Goff back and he was throwing 40 times. He threw 28 times. They completed 23 of them. It looked like they were having target practice out there. Like this was one of those obstacle courses where Goff was just dropping back and hitting anybody he wanted right in the chest. And there was absolutely no pushback by this Chicago Bears defense. Don't even get me started about Caleb Williams, because you already know I was never a Caleb Williams guy. I didn't care who the coach was. And once again, here we go. Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson. Yeah, good luck. Let us know how that works out for you.
Dan Campbell picked up a big victory for himself and the Lions here. Here's him talking after the game about the score itself.
Do you believe Dan Campbell ran it up on you on that 4th and 4 going forward?
What's he supposed to do? It's 4th and goal. What do you want him to do? Yeah, he could have kicked the field goal. They don't kick field goals. They go for it there. So he was doing what he was supposed to do. That's what he does.
Hammered in your second game in the NFL, returning home, Joe. Come on now. Hammered.
He's not going to take it easy on you. He knows it too, though. He's telling you there. This isn't about decor. Yep. Like, no, this is all about Dan Campbell being Dan Campbell. And unfortunately, Ben Johnson, wishes you good luck, but he's not going to change who he is, nor should he, because you're on the other sideline now.
Yeah, and by the way, maybe you should use Colston Loveland a little bit. Did you draft a guy in the first round just to have him hang out for football games and run cardio at this point? The reason I bring that up is the Colts, 29-28, who I thought the best tight end in the draft was actually Tyler Warren. How about 4 catches for 79 yards? How about Daniel Jones throwing for 316 yards and a touchdown, playing really good quarterback? How about Jonathan Taylor running wild? I thought the Denver Broncos had a good defense, and maybe Indianapolis has the best offense in the league. I don't know. This team is a machine, and they got the victory.
Yeah, no, they didn't get the victory. The Broncos lost this game in every way possible here, in a game in which they had clearly in hand at the end, especially in the second half, and yet somehow they managed a shank of a 60-yard field goal, and a flag comes in with no time left, Donnie, for a penalty. Do you want to know how many times that penalty of leverage was called all last season? Want to take a guess?
How many?
4. It was called 4 times last year. And yet here we are in this game with no time left on the clock. That's how you call and decide the game? Just absolutely head-scratching across the board.
Walk-off winners. I am impressed by Jonathan Taylor. 25 carries, $165 yesterday, 6.6 yards per carry. Even J.K. Dobbins on the other side there. 14 carries for 76 yards. A really good football game all the way through. I didn't see what Sean Payton was saying at the end of the game, but I'm pretty sure he's probably upset. A lot of offense, Joe, in the first half. Second half, only 16 combined points here. The Colts, 2-0. The Colts, Joe. Who would have saw that coming?
Listen, give Danny Dimes credit. He came back down to earth a little bit in that second half, but they are only one of a handful of teams, Donnie, in the history of the NFL who have played 2 games and haven't punted. 2 games.
Look at that. Shane Steichen, offensive genius. You know who's coming up next year to talk some genius with us? Tom Vecchio on a Monday Night Football doubleheader.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
There's a little bit of a kerfluffle earlier today when there's an exception taken to a punt that wasn't given, and just the reactions were pretty unilateral from both sides of like, hey, that's not behavior that we're going to tolerate at this type of competition.
Can you talk to me about kerfluffle again? Can you run that word back? I've never heard that word before.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Who wants to go to Chicago in February for a Super Bowl? Hey, the NFL can host outdoor parties on Lake Michigan. Stop the madness at this point. But now I take a look at the Denver Broncos. Always fun in the Mile High City. Why? Because what a home field advantage. It's at elevation. It's going to be cold. It might snow, and Denver's going to have that advantage. You know what Denver goes? We're going to build a world-class facility that's going to be a dome.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Monday morning on the early line, armchair quarterback is something we love to play because we like to take a look at what happened on Sunday and typically for one Monday night football game. But for today, we got double the pleasure, double the fun, 2 Monday night football games. Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri, now joined by Tom Vecchio. What happened yesterday in the NFL? What's going to happen tonight? It's always tricky, weeks 1 and weeks number 2, and we're right in the middle of it. A lot of offense yesterday, Tom Vecchio. How are we feeling today?
I'm doing good. You know, it was a good day, top to bottom for me. Wasn't perfect, but hit on some nice props. We have 2 games to get into today. Really interesting. I also have one of my favorite types of props to go to, which we'll get into. A really obscure player with an obscure line, but I'm ready to roll.
I like that, Tom. Yesterday, I had 2 parlays blown up because I couldn't get a touchdown out of Derrick Henry. And I thought I got one of those dropped in from the sky where DeAndre Hopkins goes down the sideline. He's down at the half-yard line. I'm like, this is the most perfect scenario ever. Multiple times inside the 1, he doesn't get the football. Those are the frustrations that we do have, no doubt about it. But, Tom, we got double headers tonight. You take a look at Tampa Bay and Houston, game number 1 at 7 o'clock, a 2.5-point number. Game number 2, Chargers and the Vegas Raiders, a 3 to 3.5-point number. We got some good games to take a look at tonight.
We really do. And, you know, if I had to pick one game, I would say the second game is one that I'd be far more interested when it comes to an offensive perspective. That's not some crazy take. Obviously, the total is a little bit higher. We've seen some better stuff out of both of those teams to start the year. The Texans really struggled in week 1. Granted, they were on the road. It's good Rams defense. But the Texans' offensive line is terrible. And I don't know what we can be anticipating from their passing offense if C.J. Stroud is not going to have a lot of time. And we're also in a spot where their running back room is pretty terrible to begin with.
It is. Oh, look at that. He's always speechless. Joe's always speechless. Like, Tom, you are such a superstar where Joe gets speechless each and every time. And there he is. There he is.
I am still trying to get over the whole flag at the Denver Bronco game at the end. Is really starting to annoy me. You have no idea. I thought I moved past that last night, but apparently not here. All right, you mentioned the offensive line of the Texans being horrific, and it is horrific. But are you sold on Stroud? Because I'm not. It's very Stroud, Baker Mayfield. I'm going to back Baker in that matchup. Why shouldn't I? No?
Yeah, I'm with you right there. Like, I think Stroud is good, and I think there's a path to him being better, but that time is not right now. Like, that may happen next year, could happen in week 10 this year, and they turn it on. But the combination of the offensive line and his inconsistency has no – and also, just like we talk about this, like, top to bottom coaching, offense, defense, special teams, like, I'm checking more boxes on the side of the Buccaneers than I am with the side of the Texans. So you can say that maybe the skill position players, at least from the wide receivers, somewhat comparable. Like, you know, we still have Nico Collins, okay, Mike Evans, that's kind of even when it's all said. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to be backing the Bucs time and time again. I like them to score, and I'm not sure how many points the Texans put up tonight.
By the way, let's take a look at this game, too, because this is a 2.5-point favorite. It's in a dome. 42.5 is the total. Open up around that 43.5 number. But I love, like, I talk about secondary options. I love to look at and like to bet here. And it's like, how's this going to work out? Low totals. Give me this Jalen Noel prop tonight. This is right up my alley, Tom. Please tell the people.
Yeah, Jalen Noel, rookie receiver for the Texans, under 7.5 yards.
Look at that.
Under 7.5 yards.
Look at that, Joe.
And we know that Christian Kirk isn't playing, but Nico Collins, Xavier Hutchinson, Justin Watson, who's a bit of a veteran, the other rookie, Jaden Higgins, and Dalton Schultz, all of them are higher in 1 week sample size when it comes to snap rate and target share. In week 1, Noel played on 27% of the snaps. He played on 17 snaps for them overall. So I'm basically betting on that he won't have a catch. Now, is it possible that he has one catch for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yards, whatever it is? Sure. But the fact that he's literally not on the field, and even if he's on the field, he's barely being targeted, he's a non-option. It's very possible that he plays and he has 0 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. So under 7.5 yards for Noel.
About that.
I don't understand the second game either, Tom, because I have seen nothing but Raider money all week long coming in here. And it's not going to get under a field goal, but the fact that I thought it would go the other way. So what am I missing here with the Raiders against the Chargers?
The only thing I would say is, you know, the Raiders defense looked good, and we have to take that with a grain of salt. You know, they were playing a Pats team, especially in week 1. We weren't sure what we're going to get from them. It's also, I wouldn't be surprised if people are like, oh, hey, the Chargers, they're coming back from an international game. They've traveled. They do have rest, but it is an international game and travel, so I can understand theoretically why people would buy into the Chargers. But again, top to bottom, the Chargers are the better team. I think they have the better quarterback. I think they have better skill position players. We know that Brock Bowers is expected to go, but he's still not 100% healthy. Even if he does play the whole game, he's not 100% healthy. You wouldn't be questionable. Wouldn't be 100% not healthy if you were listed as questionable or doubtful coming into this week. So I like the Chargers. I like points tonight, and I think we get some key players involved from the Chargers as well.
Let's get those key players, Tom. Talk to me about some of those key players you expect to perform, particularly in the passing game here, huh?
Yeah, let's get to Ladd McConkey for a touchdown. Last Friday I spoke to you guys about DK Metcalf getting a touchdown. I want the main players to get into the end zone, and that's what we have with Ladd McConkey when it's all said and done. He didn't score in week 1, and when we have a player that has a 25, 26, 27% target share overall, I'm always going to buy into them, especially when they're being priced. I think the price is wrong. Looking at Ladd McConkey at plus 155 or plus 160, that's not where a number one wide receiver should be priced. He should be down at plus 125. So the fact that we have a good matchup, we have a good game environment overall with the score potential at 46.5, I'm taking that number and really just saying this is wrong. I will buy into this time and time again.
I'm going to be interested to see here. Herbert over 22.5 completions. Does he go over his yardage? Do you think it's all about his
deep
his
shots.
arm and throwing the ball?
Give me the deep shots.
Yeah, I really do. And shout out to my guy Tim Doyle at CBS Sports, who I did a ton of shows with back in the day. The EWW, the Herbert every which way. You want yards, you want completions, you want attempts, you want overpassing touchdowns. That's fine. But the Raiders defense at least showed me something last week in terms of stopping the run again. It was against the Pats, but the Chargers are actually a bit more pass-heavy than people realize. They're not this old school Harbaugh run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. They're actually a little bit more pass-happy than people realize, and they're going to put the ball in Herbert's hands. And regardless of the attempts, he's actually really efficient. So I think he goes over his completions tonight as well.
We saw a lot of offense yesterday. Typically in September, everybody's really healthy for the most part, good weather conditions. The one thing that we love tonight, too, is you're looking at two warm weather cities, but we're playing in domes tonight. Should be perfect. Perfect scenarios in both of these games in the 40s here for a chance of offense. Tom Vecchio joined us on Monday. We love to see it. Catch him around the clock here on the SportsGrid Network. The man never stops. We'll be back talking more sports next.
They trade Marina Mabry, then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically two of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
College football, we love it. We love talking NFL, no doubt about it. Doubleheader in Monday Night Football, absolutely. We just had Tom Vecchio on to go over some plays that he really likes, and we think that could cash in. But over the weekend, who's not cashing in tickets? The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 41-40, lost. Texas A&M improves to 3-0. Notre Dame goes to 0-2 on the season. C.J. Carr, 32 pass attempts, 293 and a touchdown. Jeremiah Love, 23 carries for 94 yards and a touchdown. Jadarian Price scored 2 touchdowns. But Notre Dame doesn't have a defense right now. They get beat, but I'm telling you right now, Joe Ranieri, I love the fact that they're Irish are 0-2 because you know what's going to happen here. And I'm telling you, stamp this right now. Notre Dame will make the college football playoff because here's how it's going to play out. Oh, they lost 2 tough games against ranked opponents to start the season. Then they won 10 games in a row. You can't leave them out, Joe. They're the hottest team in the country.
Yeah, well, but they're still ranked. I don't know how that happens. Of course, it's Notre Dame. But yeah, what a difference a year makes. And by the way, if we're being honest, I kind of like the offense of Notre Dame more this year. I really do. But the defense is a hot mess. I mean, how do you allow Reed to throw for 360 yards? And of course, that final touchdown, even though the Texas A&M offensive linemen, apparently you can tackle defensive linemen as they're coming in to blow plays up and you won't get flagged. But the bottom line is the minute this game turned into a shootout, you had a feeling Notre Dame was in big trouble there, Donnie. They needed to keep the game lower scoring and they would have won. But unfortunately, that is not the way it turned out. And it's all about this Notre Dame defense. It's a hot mess, Donnie. It really is.
Yep. Now, again, winning 10 games in a row is going to be tough. I mean, last year they lost to NIU, so ended up making it to the national championship game. But I just want to keep that there where that schedule is manageable. And I do think there's a legitimate chance that they make the college football playoff because they're Notre Dame and they want to get them in. Because I can hear it now. They're going to beat a bunch of nobodies and be like, this team is the hottest team in the country. I can't wait. And that's part of why I'm cheering it on. And I can't stand Notre Dame. But now I'm rooting for Notre Dame because I want this narrative to become true, Joe. How about this narrative? Clemson better start hitting the transfer portal harder because they're just an average football team now, Joe. Cade Klubnik, all world. Where are you at? Haynes King's the better quarterback. 24-21, Georgia Tech.
Yeah, they're awful. Just absolutely awful. And by the way, that was another game over the weekend. Hey, Dabo, you got an 18-year-old kicker running out there with little time left on the clock, and you've got 2 timeouts, and you don't ice the kid? Like, you don't use the timeout to try and let him think about it at all? And what does he do? He goes out and he drills the game-winning I mean, just head-scratching. One of many moves by Dabo Swinney, by the way, that continues to be very head-scratching. Could this be the end of the Dabo Swinney era in Clemson? They lose another game, Donnie. Oh, boy.
Yeah, we got to open up those phone lines again, the Dabo's radio show. It's probably going to be fantastic this week. How about UGA? Georgia goes on the road, hangs 44 points, and they needed all 44 points in overtime to knock off Tennessee and Rocky Top. What a football game. And by the way, Tennessee, you blew it. You did. Credit Georgia for winning that one, though.
Josh Heupel, I mean, please, dude, you got to be kidding me. How do you lose this game at home when you've got Georgia on the ropes with a iffy quarterback at best there in Gunnard, and you somehow figure out a way to lose that game? A game, Donnie, which was pretty much in hand for Notre Dame, 3/4 of it, until, of course, the wheels fell off at the end for Josh Heupel as usual.
How about this one? 15.5 to 17.5. I'm talking the line between the Miami Hurricanes and the South Florida Bulls. I said, this doesn't smell right. Everybody, you're going to give me 2 touchdowns and now more than 17 points. Sign me up. Miami looks the part of a contender as they dismantle South Florida. And also, Joe, right, they're not doing the South Florida Bulls any service, playing 3 straight ranked teams. Eventually, the bottom's going to fall out. Not even I expected that big of a beatdown here. Miami looks really good.
Listen, Donnie, I said it last week. I'm like, the spot is terrible for South Florida, and this is what Miami does. Like, Miami's overrated. Cristobal. No, That doesn't happen until week 10 when they're playing games down the stretch that matter. They will start the season and look like world beaters, Donnie. That's what they do. And then slowly the wheels start to fall off with Mario Cristobal. That's going to be the question. Not this time of year. They look like world beaters.
Yeah, by the way, the wheel's been falling off down in Florida for some time, just not on the Hurricanes right now. The Florida Gators get beat 20-10, look completely inept on offense. And I love the under 19.5 points on those Gators this weekend here. Top of the hour power coming up next right here on the Early Line.